Hi, everyone. I'm back for another episode of Let's Talk About It with Rachel Richardson of Duke Volleyball.
Hi, Sid. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy to have you on today. We're continuing our series with the Zone on student athlete mental health, focusing on the ACC. I know that you're from DC and then you kind of essentially moved, right? Like your college town and everything kind of becomes your home up to North Carolina. What was that overall experience like?
I would say it was challenging, but as someone who has grown and I think become a better person because of those challenges, worth it. I'd say just challenging in that, like anyone who's from the DMV knows, like it is a diverse area, diverse in culture, in race, everything. Like it's just a very culturally rich area in all aspects. I got used to going into spaces and like there are people who look like me, there are people who like don't look like me, but like there are people who don't like me in like multiple ways. And like it was always about like us coming together and making
Yeah.
it work, making something happen. Like there was a unity and like a sense of community that I was just used to. Like it was automatic. When I first got down here, that was the primary challenge was one having to address like what is it within me that's making me feel uncomfortable in these spaces, and then like what is it about this space maybe that makes me feel uncomfortable, because I had to realize it was like a two-way thing. Like it wasn't just one thing. I was feeling they were kind of both influencing each other. Like it was in part my perspective and in part my reality. For I guess my perspective piece, I just had to drop the imposter syndrome. Like I also worked hard. Like I earned my spot. I earned my stripes like on the court and in the classroom. Like I worked hard to get to where I was at, just like everyone else around me. Like, and that was the one thing that was really nice. Like Duke does do a good job at making you feel like this is an environment of excellence. And so if you're here, you're excellent. Like you're not playing catch up. Like you're here. Like now we're just all exceeding together. And so I got involved in our United Black Athletes. That was just like a really safe, like fun space. That was facilitated through like the athletics that I got introduced to through the upperclassmen on our team. And that too, I just gravitated towards some of the upperclassmen who were also African American on the team. And they just became like my big sisters here and kind of helped me through those identity struggle-ish moments and becoming confident in who I am as a young Black girl in a predominantly white space, but still understanding that although maybe originally this space wasn't made for me, like it's intended for me now. And that's the whole reason why I'm here. So
That's such a good quote. I love that. This space wasn't made for me. This space wasn't made for me, but it's intended for me now. I love that. I think that's such a good quote. It's very, very true. You could have had that opportunity maybe through, maybe like students at school, like they all get together and they talk, or they all hang out at someone's apartment or whatever it is. But like you had that set group and resources and different things at Duke. And that makes a huge difference. It says like beyond just, oh, these people are inviting me. It's like the actual institution cares that I'm here and they want me to succeed. And it goes so far beyond just DEI as well, right? And like it also goes to mental health and all of those different things. What was your experience like at Duke kind of going through mental health?
I just like start off by saying I had like little to no background knowledge on mental health coming into college. I've been very blessed my entire life. I like have a like very loving family. Like I grew up in an environment where I was presented with like the necessary opportunities to be able to get to where I am. And so like I never really struggled or even thought about mental health, especially not in terms of myself. Like I was just like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
oh, I guess like that's something that doesn't even apply to me. Like I guess I don't relate to that. And then I got to college and I wouldn't say my life like dramatically shifted. Nothing terrible or bad happened. But I don't know, things just got hard. Like low on energy, like I don't want to do things. Like I'm not like a big people person. Like and it was like I was changing and I didn't understand why. My environment was changed and like I didn't even know in all the ways or understand in all the ways. And it just felt like a spiral, a spiral. I did start to learn about resources at Duke. I actually was able to take a half credit class here that was called Be Well Do Well. And I just randomly took it with one of my friends. And it was just all about learning about like mental well being and also learning about the different ways, like, I guess, how life can be if those aspects aren't being taken care of. I slowly started to realize like that was where I was at and kind of my role in that, like my active role that I was playing in not taking care of myself, that was allowing me to get there. But then also I saw where not knowing what to do was allowing me to stay there. But I did go through a period of rough mental health around the time that I was also dealing with an injury. Um, and it just like my quality of life, it just felt like was absolutely declining. And even people around me noticed it, like even my family members. And that was when I think I knew like it was serious and like I kind of needed to like start reaching out and getting proactive. What was nice was I had that community. Like I didn't even get the chance to reach out before people reached out to me.
Oh,
Like it was before I hit that even like super low place. Like the minute people started noticing things, like I remember I was having a bad day and one of my friends came over and literally made me just come and sit in the car and talk with her. And I was just in the car with her, like kind of crying and but getting things off my chest because I realized I just needed to talk about them. But it was that like I didn't know anything about mental health and I didn't know how to take care of my own mental health, but I learned through just the people around me and the people who their immediate reaction to seeing me not doing well was to try to take care of me and make it better. That was another thing too. Being a Christian, I've grown up a Christian my entire life. And when I was home, it was a part of my routine, but it was reinforced regularly by my parents. Obviously, getting into college, not everybody's Christian. Like, and then your parents aren't with you 24/7. And there's so many opportunities. You get so much more time, so much more free will. And I got lost, like lost in the sauce of things. I think that did kind of play a role in me losing perspective and getting to a place of bad mental health. And once I got reconnected, I felt that spark for life come back. I wouldn't be here, obviously, if not for the things that I went through, but definitely learning to take care of myself played like the largest role in me being able to get here.
wow. Thank you for sharing that and
Yeah.
being vulnerable about that. Taking it back to, like you said, like, the lack of check-ins, right? Like, you're Christian, your parents, would encourage you to pray. Not every family has that, but bring it to, like, what all athletes kind of have or what all, like, kids have with their parents each day is, like, that daily check-in. "How was your day?"
Hmm.
Usually are like, "Fine." And they're like,
Right.
"What's good about it?" Like, "What was fine about it?" "Oh, like, this person did this today." "Oh, how did it make you feel?" And you get to talk it out. Like, that does
Yeah.
not happen in college. We don't like, not everyone talks to their parents every day. Like, I do.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't not everyone talks to their parents every day. They don't get that check-in, right? And then from your roommates, it's like, like, let's be honest. Sometimes it's like, "Oh, did you see that guy?" It's like my friends, we call them campus celebrities. Like, "Oh, I guess who I saw today." "I can't believe practice," whatever, but it's not specific about you. And they can be seen as kind of selfish in college to make it all about you. And to come home to your friends or your teammates and be like, "Hey, this was how my day went. This is what I learned and everything." Right? And that's kind of a benefit that you get from your parents or from a guardian whose sole job is focusing on you and making sure you're good, like you're saying. And when you go to college, that becomes your responsibility. Those daily check-ins of like, "How do I feel today? What's my mood?" All of that. Like, that's so important. I just think that was like such a great explanation.
Yeah.
Like everything you just said is like you kinda, like, defined, like, I feel like you almost, like, defined why so many student athletes, like, struggle. But something that is really specific to athletes, and maybe you could argue for other activities as well in college is the competitiveness, would you say? Being around excellence, right? Like, Duke requires excellence. How have you managed that?
I think when it came to adjusting and learning to thrive in the competitive culture of excellence, like when you get to really any college, because it's just a level up in any way, because really and truly you're competing against people who have more experience than you. And I think for me, it was being attentive and starting to learn from other people's experiences and kind of catching on and so starting to just like pay attention to what they're doing right and wrong and what is the consequence of that. Freshman year coming in, I didn't play that much at the beginning and it was a shock. It was hard because you do, especially like you said in the ACC, you have all of the top girls from the top clubs in the country. These are the best girls on the best club teams coming to compete on the same team for a spot. Only six people could get on the court.
Yeah.
And so then I'm coming in also, I'm just gonna throw as a 5'8" outside hitter. I was not helping myself. Everybody in my position is taller than me. I was not helping myself.
I'm a 5'11" middle. What am I doing?
Right. We're out here not helping ourselves. That all being said, it was just kind of seeing their mindset of like the relentless pursuit. Like there nothing was ever good enough. Now it was a healthy level of dissatisfaction. I would say I thought I had that because my life quote has always been, I hate to lose more than I love to win. And I've lived by that. But I realized my prime motivator had always been to not lose. Like that was kind of what it turned into. I was literally competing because I wanted to be first, but because I just didn't want anyone else to be ahead of me. But it got to a place where we're in an environment where everyone's great. And it's not about not wanting someone to be ahead of you because you want the whole team to be great. So I really did learn to just like I guess focus on myself in that way because the desire I started competing against myself. And I think was what I learned from them. I think that was really it. Just kind of like watching and seeing what the people who were successful were doing and mimicking that and then figuring out how it would work for me.
So now, like, when we kind of wrap this all up, and bring all the different ideas together, I want to give actual insights for our listeners and for everyone that is involved with an athlete to take with them. And so, my question for you is like, what would you recommend for club athletes? And then, how do coaches play a role in this? Like, how can they be that supporter or that mediator for personal wellness or personal reflection?
For girls in club, I would say to just like remember you're in the middle. I think that as we live life, whatever stage we're in, we feel like it's at the end of. And because we feel like it's at the end of, that means that something new is beginning. And so that's when fears start, fears of the unknown naturally. You're going to be the same you. You're always going to be yourself. So the same you that you are right here in club, you're going to be you in college. You just will be a different version of that because you'll have experienced different things and learned and grown from those things in the necessary ways. Just like you're the same you that when you first stepped onto a volleyball court and knew absolutely nothing, but you're just the you that's learned from those experiences. And for me, at least, remembering that I'm in the middle helps me to have grace with myself and mistakes and helps me to stay motivated through them, to have the encouragement and the courage to take another step, even though I may have just stumbled. And I'd say for coaches, like check in, like just be proactive. And I think the more intentional you are as someone who's in a position of power over them and as someone who has influence over their self image, I think that the more that you show how much you care about them as a person, they just in general, this is across the board from young girls all the way through college, the more that it's shown to you that you matter as a person, the more you start to realize how important it is to take care of you as a person. And so I think that if you have the opportunity to do that for another young woman and or even for a young man, for male coaches too, and just to play that role of an adult who cared, it can just go such a far way.
Oh my gosh, like, that's so good.
And like I get the personal responsibility to know your worth because you got to
Oh,
set boundaries and stuff, but we're young. Like we're learning. And like I think that's what people like, especially making statements like that. People are like, oh, but what about your responsibility? Like it's still there, but like I'm learning. Like I'm only 22. I haven't been at it that long. Come on now.
oh my gosh. Ugh, I can't wait for everyone to see that. That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Rachel. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Hey guys, it's Sydney. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk About It, sponsored by The Zone, the wellness co-pilot for sports organizations. For more info on The Zone, check out itsthezone.com or It's The Zone on Instagram, and I'll see you guys next week.